Hey everyone, we're back with another episode of SLP's Wine and Cheese. I'm Deb.
And I'm Maria.
And today we have a very special episode. We have Kristen Martinez joining us.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. So nice to be here.
She's going to talk to us all about teletherapy. But before we get into that, Maria is going to let you know what we are drinking and eating.
Of course I am. So we have a Chardonnay, a California wine.
Mm-hmm.
It's by Batchus or Bachu. I don't know if it's French, but I never really know. So it says source grape from the best vineyards in California from Bacchus or Batchus. The result is
I think it's Bacchus.
Bacchus? Okay.
I don't know.
It's Bacchus. That's confusing.
Mm-hmm.
The result is a ripe, elegant wine that offers great value. Cheers. All right. So my opinion on this wine, cheers. Virtual cheers with Kristen.
Yeah, I like this wine. I think it's pretty smooth and just crisp and easy to drink. What do you think?
I think it's very light.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit too light, but
Mhm.
not like it's like all watery, but it's definitely on the lighter side.
Right.
I think if I were to pick like the threshold for the lightest wine I could take, it would be this. This would
Okay.
be the starting of the lightest.
Okay.
But it's good. And then we had it with mozzarella.
Yes.
With mozzarella cheese.
Mozzarella cheese.
Right. Mozzarella cheese with
And
this,
a Triscuit.
the
We had some
Triscuit.
mozzarella cheese on a Triscuit.
Well, Triscuit, I gotta say, this Triscuit is my favorite thing of everything.
Really?
Not even the wine. This
Uh-oh.
Triscuit.
I got the
it's like
rosemary one.
Yeah. So I think definitely drink it, but definitely eat it. The
Right.
Triscuit, rosemary, crackers. That for sure.
Well,
That-
I also made us a house salad with shrimp, and this white wine apparently is supposed to pair nicely with seafood. So I think it's good to have like a light wine with a heavily flavored things,
Agreed.
I
Yeah.
suppose.
It definitely tasted better, the wine, when I had it with your salad. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for that salad.
You're welcome.
I walked in and Deb was cooking. I was like, look at this sight. Who
Yeah.
expected this?
Who would have thought? What a rare sighting.
Wonderful. It is.
Yeah.
So
We both drink it.
drink it.
Mm-hmm. And
Nice.
Kristen, what do you have?
Very good. So nothing too exotic, but a Kendall Jackson Chardonnay.
Mm.
So I have that with some Gruyere cheese. So it's a pretty classic, I think.
Very nice.
Very
yeah.
good.
We both have Chardonnay.
Mhm.
Very
Mhm.
nice.
I worked in restaurants for a long time, and I feel like Kendall Jackson Chardonnay was just like the standard in almost every
It is.
restaurant I worked at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a fan favorite. It must.
Yeah.
And you have fancy cheese.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I feel like that's a fancy cheese you
A
have.
little bit. A little fancy. Yeah.
She's like, I stepped it up a notch. You girls got to learn from me.
Well, I'm glad. I don't know if you usually spend your nights drinking wine and eating cheese, so I'm glad you did this.
I am too. Not usually on a weeknight because I
Oh.
very soon after get sleepy, and then that's kind of it for anything else happening. So
Right.
weekends usually is when the wine might happen.
Look at us partying it up on a weekday. I
Yeah.
like
Here
it.
we go on
That's
a
us.
Tuesday. So, Kristen, can you give us a little bit of background information about you? Where'd you go to school? How long have you been an SLP?
Sure, absolutely. So my undergraduate, I live in Colorado. And
Mhm.
so I was born and raised here. And so my undergraduate degree is in psychology from Colorado State University. And then I got my master's degree from the University of Colorado at Boulder. And I'm coming up on 20 years as an SLP. So it does not seem possible, but that is the truth.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yes,
Thank you.
congrats.
Yeah.
And you're one of the few people that I have met, even virtually, that is a native of Colorado, because we actually talk about this with Amy Graham, who a lot of people from Colorado are, what's that word?
I'm
She's chewing.
Transplant.
Transplants.
Yes, there are a lot. Mhm.
Yes. And
Yeah,
Boulder is
very
beautiful.
fortunate.
So that's very nice.
Beautiful. Yeah, I live in Fort Collins, which is about 45 miles away. So this is where Colorado State University is. But yeah, no, I'm lucky to be here. It was a great place to grow up, and decided when I had kids that this was a good place to stick around. So
It's
Still
very
here.
pretty from what I've seen in pictures. I
pretty.
haven't been.
yes.
Great.
It is.
So, Kristen, today we're gonna talk about telepractice. So, I'm gonna briefly talk about Ash's viewpoint on telepractice.
Oh, right.
So,
We always have to make sure that we do the background stuff.
Yes,
Yes.
Like all that stuff that's written down.
all the stuff that's written down, we do. Okay,
Yeah, we do all that.
We do all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So, telepractice is the application of telecommunications technology to the delivery of speech-language pathology and audiology professional services at a distance by linking a clinician to client or clinician to clinician for assessment, intervention, and or consultation. So this is not to be confused with telesupervision or distance supervision, which is supervision, mentoring, pre-service, and continuing ed. And we got this term telepractice from telemedicine or telehealth, which is where the future is really going.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the Code of Ethics, the use of telepractice must be equivalent to the quality of services provided in person and consistent with adherence to the Code of Ethics. So pretty much, I took that as just because you're doing therapy over the computer doesn't mean you could just not do a good job.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes. I recognize the language from ASHA. That is exactly as they state it. And I mean, that's essentially what it boils down to is nothing changes in terms of your responsibility, in terms of the Code of Ethics. Our job is everything is still there, whether you are in person or virtual. So that's the gist.
I took a telepractice course at ASHA 2 years ago in LA, and I found it so extremely interesting that I'm surprised I never followed up with pursuing telepractice. A couple things that I found interesting. One was that it seems so difficult to wrap your head around, but then the way they explained it, I didn't realize, like, if you're doing telepractice, the person you're doing therapy with needs a partner with them at the computer. So it's not just like you and a child. That child has a communication partner just to make sure that that child is following through with your request or your instruction. Is that correct?
Yeah. It is. So there's that really the degree to which that person, that support person, have different names depending on a speech helper or support person. The degree to which they need to be involved varies. So it really runs along the spectrum. At one end, it's really, because a lot of kids, I mean, kids are digital natives these days. And so being on the computer is certainly not foreign. Interacting with somebody on a screen is not foreign. So it is rarely much of a leap for the kids. Right. And many of them are very independent. So sometimes it's just line of sight supervision, just making sure somebody's in the room. Obviously they're in school, they need to have supervision. But for the most part, some kids are really independent and they need very little, anything else. All the way to working with students with significant needs, where they might need a one-on-one pair with them throughout every single session. And so there's a range in there, whether sometimes it's just somebody who is nearby to give some reinforcement, some cueing, if the child needs, to get up and do some brain breaks and some gross motor activities every 10 minutes to stay engaged. They can help support that. But it's, so it's a range. But yes, there is somebody at least in the room keeping an eye on things.
I wonder if kids are just more like better behaviorally and more attentive when it's telepractice because it is a computer, which is so like enticing. Because in my therapy sessions, I'm constantly like, you're showing me you don't want the kazoo. Because I've had to say the instructions about 16 times. Like I'm constantly repeating myself. I'm bringing kids back to their chair. I'm dangling toys in front of them. Like, look what I have. Just say 10 more words. So I'm always like trying to do things. But do you find that most of your clients are compliant?
Of course, kids are individuals, and so it depends on the child. However, I will say, as a general rule, the technology is motivating for kids. And sometimes we will find that students who maybe this, a school director, on-site SLP might not expect them to do well with teletherapy because of behavior, because of attention, because they're really squirrely in person. And then sometimes they do a lot better when they come on the computer with a teletherapist. So I had an SLP, on-site SLP tell me one time I was working with a second grader, and he definitely was a mover and a shaker during therapy, but he stayed with me and he completed 30-minute therapy sessions. And after a couple of months, she called me and said, I just want to let you know, I cannot believe how well he does with you, because with me, he was all over the room, under the table. Like I spent most of the time trying to just chase him down. So it just connected for him. He enjoyed the technology. And sometimes we also find, especially with some of the older kids getting into late elementary, middle, high school, that coming to the computer can carry sometimes less of the stigma that they feel being pulled out of class for speech. So being able to say, I'm just going to the computer time, because there's so many things going on with computers for kids that some of them feel just socially a little more comfortable once they get older. So it's there certainly are kiddos who still require a lot of reinforcement through the computer with that helper, the person there with them to keep them engaged. So it just depends. But yeah, we see great progress, and that was certainly one of the surprises for me, because I didn't go into teletherapy expecting that I was going to be here 7 years later.
Wow, 7 years.
Yeah. So I initially stepped away. I was in my school district as an on-site SLP, and just had some family circumstances where I really just needed more flexibility. I needed be able to have more availability for my family. And I tried out teletherapy and joined presence learning at that point, and really expecting it would be kind of a stopgap and I'd be going back into my district position. And within a few weeks, I was pretty hooked. So I loved it. And the concerns that I had about connecting with my kids, about seeing progress, pretty rapidly went away, because I realized that I was still doing my job. It felt surprisingly similar to being there in person.
Right. And it's like the other thing that I found interesting was the technology aspect. So the people who did the presentation that I saw, they made a lot of things on PowerPoint, and they also had some like screen sharing activities. So it'd be like, put the monkey above the tree, put the monkey under the tree. So the child was like using the mouse to follow directions on the screen. So it was like almost like a video game, but while following verbal instructions. So between the partner and seeing like the virtual activities, that's what made it make sense to me, because before that I was like not really sure how it worked. So what do you need to get started in telepractice therapy? What do you need in terms of technology, and then maybe like trainings?
Right. So of course the basics are, you have to have a computer on both sides with internet access, and you want to have minimum bandwidth and internet speed. So most of the time these days, what people have in their residential areas, what the schools have, is sufficient. But that's something you'll want to check out and run an internet speed test. So beyond that, of course, it's really important that as SLPs, we have the best audio quality, the best video quality, and an appropriate setting. So in terms of being able to carry out a therapy session, I want to make sure that my computer is set up where there's good lighting so that the student can see me. I can open up the Zoom and I can make it to a big screen so they can really see my face close up, and then vice versa. So if I need to really see their face, I need to see their articulators, have them open their mouth, I'm able to see well. And so you don't want to have anything set up in a dark space. Sorry about the noise in the background. You don't want to have it in, I mean, it's really pretty similar to if you're there in person. I mean, thinking about where's an appropriate place to have therapy. And I know when we're in the schools, and I've done therapy in the hallway and in closets and in the library. With teletherapy, you really want to make sure you have a good space that's quiet. For somebody getting started, the headset, microphone is important. You can use the computer microphone. It's not always as good, especially if you really want to have that high quality audio. So we always recommend a headset with a mic on both ends, the student side or the patient side. I work with schools, and on the therapist side. So beyond the basic technology is, and then of course what platform you're going to use.
Right, that's my biggest question.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of information out there. Now I will, full disclosure, my experience is with Presence Learning. We have a platform that's been developed for use of all of our therapists. So everything is integrated. So
you sign on with that company, and then you have a program that you use with them.
Yeah, okay. You have access, and so there's, so we're pretty spoiled in that respect that there's a lot integrated. We have all the scheduling can be done in the therapy platform, data tracking, soap notes, so it's all integrated. However, there are certainly people who are in private practice and they just want to be able to work with some clients from their homes, or where they don't necessarily want to do a full caseload by teletherapy. Maybe they just want to have some flexibility. So the things to look for, number one, is making sure that you're using a secure platform. So not everything is secure as far as being HIPAA and FERPA compliant, making sure that you're protecting the privacy of your clients. So for instance, Skype is not a secure platform, but there are platforms like VC and Zoom that are considered secure. The other piece to that is, for some programs, whether it's the platform you're using for video or whether it's what you're using to share information, such as Google Documents, you want to call the company and ask about a BAA. So this is an agreement that, and it usually means that it's a paid version of something. So a higher level of Zoom or a higher level of but it gives you that level of security. So then you can still use that platform and share information.
So this is if you wanted to do this on your own without a company like the one that you work for. Okay. Thank you for specifying that. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So because our platform is secure, but if you're doing it independently, that's a big piece that you want to make sure is obviously the security of all student information and any patient identifying information. So.
Right, because the free version might not be as secure, but even also there might be like time limits or audio or visual, like the quality might not be as good. So you get what you pay for, really.
Yes.
I get that. Yes. So in terms of any like certifications or trainings, do you need any type of certification to do this, or just like a license and your C's?
Yeah, you don't need specific certification for teletherapy. There are some programs out there. So there's some Facebook groups, and there's people who they offer consulting for individuals who want to go out on their own and do teletherapy. So now, again, speaking for my company, we do offer training related to use of our platform and that piece. So the majority of therapists who come to us don't have teletherapy experience. They have experience in the schools, so they understand what it looks like to work with the schools. What's required, and the piece that you have to think about that you don't need to consider if you're physically in one place all the time, is licensure. So the reason teletherapy is so powerful is because we are able to take SLPs and get them to students in underserved areas or areas where the caseloads are outrageously high, and helping relieve caseloads for SLPs because we can cross-license.
Right.
So
That's great.
that you need to be licensed.
You always hear people who have like 90 kids on their caseload, and that's like a way to resolve that issue.
Yes, yeah, and I've heard upwards of 100, 120. So there's some really, really upsetting numbers out there as far as caseloads for therapists, and it was very eye-opening for me to always having worked in Colorado to then I cross-licensed into other states and was working in other parts of the country, and to really see the inequity in terms of services and how, what some districts and states have had to do to fill the gap, because there has been a chronic shortage of SLPs across the country. So teletherapy is absolutely a way to address those issues, but also maintain the quality of care, because we still have fully licensed, credentialed SLPs, but you do have to be licensed in the state where you sit, and then also licensed in the state where the child sits.
Oh, that was my question. Okay, so it's not like I could treat somebody in California because I'm not licensed.
If you're licensed in California, you could, yes.
I was just going to say that.
No, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
In some states, you only need the state license, and others you also need to have the Department of Education license.
This episode of SLP's Wine and Cheese is brought to you by slpawards.us. Being an SLP and an SLP to be is a tough job, and our efforts are not always rewarded. Until now, Eric Raj has developed a wonderful product of ribbons designed specifically to award SLPs. There's the Most Awesomest Future SLP Award, SLP Paperwork During the Weekend Award, Most Therapy Materials in My Card Award, and more. These are great for graduations, holidays, and just every day to brighten up a colleague's day. Use the coupon code WINEANDCHEESE, all caps, for free shipping. This episode of SLP's Wine and Cheese is also brought to you by SLP Toolkit. Hey everyone, this is Deb, and I'm here with Sarah and Lisa of SLP Toolkit, breaking down 10 reasons why you need Toolkit in your SLP life. Say hey, ladies.
Hey.
So reason number 3, at IEP meetings, you're going to look like a data-taking rock star. You are going to get graphs and accurate percent accuracies based on all of your goals for each of your individualized students.
Seriously, one of the coolest parts. I love being able to walk into a meeting with actual data, because before, in the past, I would sit in meetings and pray to heavens that nobody asked to see my data, because one, if I was lucky enough to have it, it was probably on the back of a envelope, and it was scribble. Nobody would have interpreted it as anything else. But for the most part, I actually didn't have really any data to show, probably at all. So this has been really awesome, because my data has never been better, because it's so easy to take. And then the fact that I just print it out and show people, it makes it look like I really love data.
Well, and here's the deal. We just got an email today from an SLP in Illinois that said they rehauled all of the SPED policies, and they have to attach data to everything that they're doing. The IEP, the actual session data notes.
Oh boy.
So you're an SLP Toolkit user, no biggie. You already have that information and can run the report. But if I had to recreate that somehow, that would be not a good look.
Oh, I'd have an anxiety attack.
Well, and it's just the direction we're going. We say this all the time when we present, is we are living in a data-driven society. It's very litigious, and you can't just depend on your smart guesses and your expertise anymore. You've got to have data to back it up. So if you've got it all in one place, you don't have to worry about student losing sticky notes or not having the information you need if something like this comes up in your district. What a huge relief.
Yeah, so everyone needs to sign up for free at slptoolkit.com. And when you're ready to subscribe, use the promo code wine and cheese, all lowercase letters, to get $24 off the annual cost of Toolkit or your first month free. And now back to our show, and stay tuned next week when Kristen comes back on and tells us more about what teletherapy looks like.
So you work for Presence Learning. So do they connect you with the clients, or do you have to find your clients on your own? How does that work? Building
Right.
your caseload.
Yeah. So for us, we have the contract with the school districts, and so they come to us, and they have a certain number of students that need covered, and about half of the school districts we serve, there are on-site SLPs. They just don't have enough, and so we're helping with caseloads, helping to cover all the students, and about the other half, we are the only SLPs serving a district. So it's a mix
The students that, or
of
the
those
states
two.
that have SLPs on site, they're probably not the speech buddy, right? They're probably seeing their own
No.
kid. So the speech
Yeah,
buddy in that case is usually like a paraprofessional in the school, or
right. It there have we. I always when I part of my job and when we come on is to talk with the SPED directors about how to implement services, and we do talk about needing this person on site to support, and I always advise against having their on-site SLPs be this person because
Right.
we are really there to help the on-site SLPs and not
exactly.
add another task to their very busy
Because then
day.
really
So
it's two
yes,
SLPs treating one client.
it's not a good use of resources at all.
Right.
So
Yes.
no, we sometimes right. So sometimes there'll be a speech language pathology assistant in states where there is that role.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a paraprofessional. So that's really up to the school how they want to staff that role.
So most of your teletherapy sessions are during school hours, because it seems like you're doing the therapy sessions in schools, right? So the students are, I guess, are
We
they in like
are.
a separate
Yep.
room? I guess, are they in like the computer lab or back of a classroom? Just wondering.
It
I'm sure it
yeah, it
depends, right?
really varies. Yeah, it really varies. As I'm sure you know, space is of a premium in schools. So
Right.
again, we advise if they have a separate room that they can have computers set up, that's great. That's best. That's not always the case, and so sometimes it will be in the back of a resource room or in a speech room where there might be the SLP may be running a group at the same time, and they have a couple of computers set up, and the kids are on the headsets and they're working with the SLP at the same time.
I can just imagine how jealous the kids in the group are that kid gets to be on the computer. I would be so annoyed. I'd be like, we can't do that in here, because then all my kids would be asking if they could go on the computer. And I'd be like, no, it's not for you.
That is a good point.
Right.
So, how do you conduct assessments via teletherapy?
So again, for us, we partner with the major publishers, and we have online validated versions of many of the major evaluate assessments. So for instance, we partner with Pearson, we have the Self and Castle, and it's all the same picture stimuli, but it's integrated into the platform, so it pops up on the computer screen for the student, and they respond just as they would if you had the flip book there in person. And so that's always how I have done it. In terms of informal, our therapists, they're independent contractors, free to use whatever materials they want. And so they're still sending out parent and teacher checklists and talking with parents and teachers. And we can even do classroom observations if needed. We work with the paraprofessional to go into the classroom and do some firsthand observations. So, yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's really,
Mm.
I'm impressed. So do you accept CFs?
We don't currently, because that's something that is not very it's not really clear from ASHA's point of view. So I know that it's in the works. It's developing for potentially a portion of a CF hours to be done via teletherapy. What we can do, and we're looking in some areas, is potentially supervising on-site clinical fellows.
Oh, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I think that would be a good mix because at least you get the experience of what a school is like. I have 2 CFs right now. And well, I mean, I've had CFs. This is my 4th year having CFs. And I just feel like it's a bit a struggle for the CF to start like at the immediate start of the school year. I started in June. So I had like summer and I
eased your way.
Eased in. I had a couple
Right.
kids and then I got a school caseload and all that administrative tasks. But my 2 right now are just kind of like getting bombarded with that. And I feel like it's a little overwhelming for them. So I think that's a really nice plan there to do, like, to have somebody within a school, but then having like a partial kind of telepractice.
And then once they get their C's, because they liked, I'm sure they liked the supervision, telesupervision, and then they could, since they're already comfortable with it and maybe know the platform, they could say, oh, now that I have my C's and my license, I can now do the next step, which would be telepractice. So
interesting.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so it's really important to understand whether it's licensure. There's different state regulations. So that's always what I advise anyone who's, that's if they come to work with us, we help guide that. We have information around that. But anyone who's doing this on their own, you have to do your research in terms of what is permitted state by state, because it absolutely varies.
So we're going to talk about activities right after a few announcements and a commercial break.
And we are back. So we want to talk about some of your favorite things to do, Kristen.
Yeah, we're dying to know.
Yeah,
what does therapy look like?
What does it look like?
How do you do it?
Yes. Can we get a cheers, by the way, to telepractice?
Wow.
Cheers. To the future. To the future.
I mean, I definitely see myself. I should drink, right?
You should. Yeah, you got to drink that.
I totally see myself going the route of teletherapy in the near future.
Well, now I'm considering it more.
Good.
I want to try the supervision.
Right.
I think I want to try that first as I eat this salad.
Oh, to like get an idea of how therapy looks. Okay, well, Kristen's going to do her best job of trying to explain to us what therapy looks like.
Yeah.
And what
I will try through just audio. So
yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, no.
You can send us pictures.
Yeah. Paint a picture first.
We'll put it on Instagram.
I know. I will say, if anybody's coming to ASHA, I will be there in our booth, and we do have our therapy room up, and you can come and play. So
you're going to be at the booth, Presence Learning's booth?
I will be there. I'm also speaking at the SIG 18, which is a telepractice special interest group. So, and we have my colleagues are doing a presentation on really some of the basics of telepractice. So,
do you know your booth number?
So I'm excited to be there. Oh, wow. I should. I don't.
That's
I can share that with you later.
We'll get that information. It'll be in the show notes. Yeah. But SLP's Wine and Cheese is booth 896. Yes, we will be at 896. So
come visit us.
Come lovely. I will for sure.
Yeah, it was a party last year.
It was a party last year.
Sometimes I was overwhelmed. I was like, wow, this is a big party. This is a lot of party for a long time. A lot of party for a long time. That's how I would describe it.
I liked it. It was cool. I was slightly sensory overload. We need some noise canceling headphones, and we'll be good.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yes. It doesn't really slow down as opposed to going, because I do a lot of state conferences, and when sessions are, going, it quiets down and you have some time, but ASHA is just nonstop. There's people coming all the time. So,
all right, activities.
So, activities. It really is, again, it was something that I was initially concerned about. I was surprised at how how I was able to translate what I did in person to the computer and to teletherapy. So again, in our platform, and I think that this is available, in a lot of different ways, but if you're, not working with us specifically, but we have the capability, you can upload anything that's in PDF form. So for instance, when I first started, I used to love using a lot of picture books with my elementary school kiddos. So I probably scanned about a dozen of my favorite books, uploaded them to my therapy room, and they pop up. I can turn the pages right there. And then the kids also had whiteboard tools, so we could circle and stamp and highlight, within the book, which was really fun. So of course, the kids have the mic. It's synchronous. It's live. There are some people out there who still think that teletherapy is a recording, and the kids are sitting there watching a recording. That's just not the case at all. So it's just like us talking now, of course, except for the video feed. And so anything that you're doing auditorily, you can easily translate.
That's our show, everyone. Thanks for listening to SLP's Wine and Cheese. We have new episodes every week, so be sure to subscribe. Also, we'd appreciate it if you would like and review us on iTunes. If you love the show and want more bonus content, then check us out at patreon.com/SLP's Wine and Cheese. Until next time, have a good night.